Welcome everybody to a special meeting of the City of Council of the City of Pearsall. Today's Monday, September the 10th. It's 7:03. Like to roll call, please.
Mary Moore. Robert Villarreal.
Here.
Richard Gambara.
Here.
Sonia Hernandez. Here. Brenda Trevino. Here. Julian Hernandez. Ben Briscoe.
Here.
Galen Fraser.
Here. We have four. Let's go ahead and stand for invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Let's go before the Father. Father, first and foremost, we want to thank you for the life-giving rain that you've given us. It has been such a blessing in your ground meeting, so thank you for that. As we gather this evening, we're going about the business of the city. We ask that you lead and guide all the conversations. We ask for your blessings on our council, city administration, and all of those involved in any way within the city. We ask that you lead and guide and help us to continue the progress that's going on. Help us to be the city on the hill that you speak of in your word. These things we pray through Jesus, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of the agenda is a public hearing on a proposal to maintain the tax rate of 0.8910 per 100th evaluation on properties on tax roll from the preceding year. This proposed tax rate exceeds the lower of the effective rate or the rollback rate as calculated under Chapter 26 of the Tax Code. Have a motion. Entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Council, this is the second meeting that we're required to have under the tax code before we can adopt the tax rate for the year. Again, before we go through this real quick, one, we are at the direction of the council, we kept the tax rate at the same rate as it was last year. But because of our sales taxes increasing a little bit, that actually decreased our effective tax rate like 9,000, so a cent below where we were. So we're required under the tax code then to have two of these meetings before we adopt it. So our advertised tax rate for the year would be the 0.8910, which was the same as it was last year. Our effective rate was 0.89. Effective rate was 0.8901, so it was 0.0009 cents difference, which equates to next to nothing in the budget, but we're required to have the two meetings. Some points about the draft budget and where we're at this time. The draft budget for the year included cutting all requested additional personnel. The draft budget at this point still includes the 80/80 salary plan without the stipends being funded. It includes cutting all equipment purchases and project requests that have been added in by the department heads. It included projected sales tax revenues at the same level as what we actually received this year, while including increases for the newly annexed areas. It includes increase in fixed costs for utilities, et cetera, based on what we saw in the actual cost this year. It will remove the salary for the Public Works Director for 1 year. It decreases the transfer from water and sewer over last year's level. Maintains the ad valorem tax rate at 0.8910, which means there will be no tax increase. And the proposed budget is $592,070 less than last year's final amended budget. So we're looking at a proposed of $5.961 million versus the $6.553 million. Of course, we talked about this in the first meeting. We have those shifts in the numbers because of the TML taxes that we still have, or the TML insurance that we still have for the park and for the building. And then we had the expenditures for the demolition at the park, which had to be added to our budget from this year. So we saw a huge increase in our budget over what we actually adopted before we actually worked through it this year, but some of that will carry over until next year. Major factors for the coming year for 2017, 2018. Sales tax revenues have balanced out. And we begin receiving sales tax revenues in the newly annexed areas during this coming next budget year. Those increased revenues are how we reduce the transfer out of utilities. So we have the annexation phase 1 and phase 2. We will start receiving sales taxes from those areas. That's how we were able to reduce the transfer from about $350,000 down to right now it stands at about $180,000. Once we get to the point where we have the property taxes off those twos, then we can get away from transferring from our utility fund into the general fund just to fund our operations and be able to actually fix water lines and gas lines and streets and whatever out of that fund, which is what it was intended for. Using realistic revenue projections, required increase in the ad valorem tax rate in the previous 2 years to cover our operation and maintenance costs for the city, and now we put that realistic point. Now this time, those numbers are pretty solid. Everything, the only real changes that we've seen as we've gone through the draft budget this year for new costs for next year are those utility costs. So we saw a pretty big increase in utility costs, street lighting, stuff like that. But the rest of it was pretty realistic to what we had in there last year. Now, we'll end up with a budget reserve for this current budget year. That reserve was created, of course, by spending frugally during the year. If there was something we didn't need, then we didn't spend it. I had Josie print out a budget through today a while ago. I think we're probably going to end up somewhere around $250,000 in reserves at the end of this year. Just best guess with what we have. We still got to pay salaries and stuff, pay some utility bills and stuff between now and the end of the year, but we stopped spending on anything else. We still have to make the payment to HEB because that was set to be paid on September 30th. And then we still have, there's one other big payment that was in there. Right now, when you look at how much money we have left in the general fund, it shows over $1 million, but that insurance money's still sitting there. So you got to take that insurance money off the top too, because it'll roll over into the budget for next year. And that's about $640,000 right now is what's sitting in there. So that kind of skews that number a lot right now, but it'll come off. But we're thinking there's going to be about $250,000 left over at the end of the year. We still have to address the medical insurance before we finalize anything in the draft budget. The RFP did go out for medical insurance. We will have answers on September 17th, which is the day we have set right now to approve the final budget. Of course, Wednesday of this week, we're having a budget workshop, and we'll see where we get on Wednesday. If we can always not adjourn Wednesday night. If we think we need to work on it again Thursday, we can recess and come back on Thursday and work on it some more. Or we can set another one for later next week as well. We can always come in Monday to that one, look at the insurance. If we get everything else pretty much balanced or ironed out, all we got left is insurance to figure out. We can do that Monday, and that one will still be done with the final budget on Monday. Or recess it going to Tuesday if we needed more time on Tuesday. So timeline, we're still looking pretty good. No set payment will be included for the county EMS contract. Of course, we'll talk about that a lot more tomorrow night, but you guys were all at the meeting. We basically told the county that we didn't have any way to help them with that. What I heard, I think everybody else heard, was the county saying they're going to go ahead and do it later on in the year. If we think that we have a little bit to come back and help them out, then we can come back and help them out. Our taxable property values as submitted to the city of Pearsall by the appraisal district increased from $294,188,000 to $295,135,000, so basically no change. Now that was before exemptions. After the exemptions, they basically were all changed. Our ad valorem tax rate established for last year was 0.8910 per $100 per 100 of a dollar on each $100 at 100% market valuation. The draft budget proposes the exact same amount, which would be comprised of 0.750277 for maintenance and operations and 0.140723 for INS. So one thing, even though we're keeping the exact same tax rate, we paid off debt last year. And so that debt total that we have left to pay decreased. So each year you'll see that number shift just a little bit. So last year I think our portion for M&O was like 0.759 or something like that. It was a little bit higher. So those numbers shift just a little bit because we have less debt to pay off because we've already made some payments. So it's a little bit more money on the maintenance and operations side and a little bit less on the debt service side. Our rollback tax rate for this year is $1.25. The proposed tax rate would put Pearsall at about 71.3% of its allowable tax rate, or the rollback rate, and still well below percentages of surrounding cities. I showed this last time. Again, everybody's still working on there, so we don't have final numbers for this year. But this is compared to the numbers that everybody else has for 2017 in the cities around us. As you can see, this last number that's out on the outside, is that percentage is compared to the rollback rate. So if you look at the city of Dilley, they're above their rollback rate. If you look at the city of Uvalde, they're just below. Natalia is way above their rollback rate. City of Hondo's at 100%, Castroville's at 100%, and Pleasanton's at 96%, and we'll be at 71.3% of our rollback rate. So compared to what the cities around us are doing as a proportion of the rollback rate, we're doing really well compared to where they're at. So again, there's no proposed increase in the ad valorem tax rate for the coming fiscal year. And once again, the proposed budget at this point provides for actual reduction in general fund budget for the previous year. If you guys have any additional questions from last time, we'll be happy to answer your questions.
Go ahead.
Keep the anticipated net revenue savings, you know, the $250,000, I know that could probably be reduced to maybe only 100,000 once we pay HEB, but where does that fit in next year's budget?
It doesn't. It would actually be set aside in a reserve fund.
Okay.
Which is something every government but us around here has.
Sure.
For emergencies. So if something like an HEB comes up or a water well goes down or something happens that's not budgeted, there's actually it's a savings account.
Okay.
You know, county's got 5-10 million, well, I don't know what they have 8 million, I think, in reserves. The school has like 3 million in reserves. And that's your rainy day fund. That's in case something happens. Now, that's one of the things I was really surprised about when I came to Texas from New Mexico. The county I ran in New Mexico, we were required by law to have 3 months of our general fund budget in reserve at all times, in case something happened. And when you run a $55 million a year budget, 3 months, that's a big chunk. But in Texas, there is no reserve requirement. But it's always wise to have something in case something happens.
Okay.
You know, we've been fortunate since I've been here. You guys approved the 2016 seal bond right after I got here. Actually, I think that was one of the first meetings I was at, was when that bond was approved. And we've had some things that have happened that if we wouldn't have that bond, we'd have been in trouble. The 2 sewer line breaks that we had, you know, the one that happened before I got here, because it happened in such proximity to the bond, we were able to reimburse that. That was $200,000 out of the general fund we didn't have. But we were able to go back and reimburse it. We were able to fix it when we needed to go back and reimburse out of that bond. And so that was a big help, being able to do that. The second sewer line break, we didn't have that, you know, we didn't have that funded, but because we had the bond, we were able to pay it out of that. So we've been able to fix some problems along the way because we had money in the bond to fix them that otherwise would have had to come from somewhere. Where that should be coming from is out of the utility fund. You know, but the utility fund's been robbed since 2012 to cover the general fund because there wasn't enough money in the general fund. Some years it transfers up to $750 million out of that fund. And so that's why we talked about the annexations and getting away from that transfer so that we can start paying for projects as we have money to do them instead of borrowing money and paying interest on them for 30 years to come back.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I need a motion to go ahead and close the public hearing, please.
Motion to close.
All in favor?
We're out of here.
Need a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
All in favor?